OK, nous allons débuter notre session de synthèse des tables rondes qui ont eu lieu hier après-midi. En gros, c'est certain que ce qui est ressorti des tables rondes, c'est qu'il y a un besoin pour un programme comme Dimension ou un besoin d'avoir un cadre. Donc, besoin d'apprendre de Dimension pour pouvoir mettre en place un cadre dans les établissements variés pour faire avancer le DI. On a un petit changement mineur à l'ordre du jour. We have a welcome slight change to the agenda. So before we launch into the summary, the synthesis, one of our speakers from yesterday, Hyacinthe Simpson, is leading an initiative to put the Dimensions program front and center again at the national level. So she's accepted to say a few words on this initiative and is also willing to hear comments and to have a short discussion afterwards. So without further ado, Hyacinthe, welcome back, and the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Serge. And thank you, conference organizers, for giving me this opportunity. I won't take more than 3 to 5 minutes. In the light of the now infamous University Affairs article about the plug being pulled on Dimensions, that was the title of the article. And now that we're over a year from the end of the pilot and the awarding of foundation and construction recognition to 10 of the 17 institutions, many of us have been asking, so what's happening with Dimensions at the national level and correspondingly in the institutions that participated in the pilot? Is this it? After all the visioning, all the hard work, the community building, the financial and other forms of investment, and strides made in advancing inclusive excellence by centering EDI in research in our institutions, is all of that now to go down the drain? So these questions led to a meeting last Thursday of a group of Dimension stakeholders. In that meeting, discussion focused on how best to mobilize the post-secondary sector, institutional leadership, and EDI and research advocacy groups over the spring and summer to bring about a full reaffirmation and strengthening of Dimensions at the national level. I'm sharing my screen because what does that affirmation look like? What does strengthening Dimensions and affirming Dimension look like? So in order to do that, there are 3 things that we've identified that need to be done. A, we need public statements of recommitment to Dimensions and the mandate to center EDI considerations in every aspect of research funding and undertaking from relevant parties in the federal government and also from the tri-agency. B, we need clear confirmation of long-term funding and institutional infrastructure support for the Dimensions program and its role in advancing EDI in research outcomes in post-secondary institutions and in requirements for all tri-agency funding opportunities. And 3, what's also needed is that we identify the best governance and accountability model to ensure the effectiveness of the Dimensions program at the national level over the long term. In that meeting, 3 interrelated strategies to reaffirm and strengthen national Dimensions were also identified. The first one, how we can capitalize on the current federal government's messaging about its commitment to diversity, equity, and social justice to get MPs and cabinet ministers on side with publicly reaffirming the need for the Dimensions program. The second one is to launch a public-facing information campaign about the benefits of the Dimensions program, not only to the post-secondary sector, but to the wider society. And 3, to get clear accountability from relevant individuals or groups in the tri-agency as regards wrapping up the pilot properly, because it hasn't been properly wrapped up, and launching the next phase of the work, which we would be branding Dimensions 2.0. I think success with the first 2 strategies should make the last, and there's been no movement on that last one, despite efforts from on a number of fronts. Success with the first 2 should make achieving the third one far more likely. It's important to strike while the iron is hot. So many of us in the post-secondary sector are still basking in the glow of the tabling of the 2024 budget last month, and the news that the government will invest 3.5 billion in research and in innovation, that graduate student scholarships will increase for the first time in more than 2 decades, and that the federal granting agencies will receive their first significant investment since 2019. So research funding is foremost in the minds of, the post-secondary institutions, the tri-agency, and also the federal government. And everyone is in a positive, celebratory, maybe even self-congratulatory mode. So that's why we need to strike while the iron is hot. This month and the month of June present us with a small window of opportunity to center dimensions in everyone's consciousness again, and the need for dimensions, why we need to reaffirm and strengthen the dimensions program at the national level before summer agendas take over and everybody scatters for the summer break. I understand that in today's Is It Desirable to Bring Back the Dimensions program session, that reflections on what was covered in yesterday's session will be shared. But before that happens, I'd like to take this opportunity to invite everyone in this room to join those who met last Thursday in taking a couple of key, well-defined actions over the next 3 to 5 weeks to achieve the goals that I indicated earlier on my first slide. The group is organizing mainly via Google Sheet. So there is a Google Drive, and thank you, Anush, for getting that Google Drive up and going, that has key documents. And what I've just said, I'll put a text of it there so that we can share these documents. And you notice that I haven't put anybody's names. I'm using the passive voice a bit because in circulating these documents, we want to make sure that no one feels vulnerable, that we don't have anybody's name out there, that it's not that we are afraid of organizing, but we want to be more like a mass of bodies, a mass of intellect, rather than any one individual standing out and feeling, targeted if something were to blow back. So I want to invite everybody in this room to join the group, and we're doing that via Google Drive. And I'm going to stop sharing and drop that in the chat, the link to the Google Drive. I'm going to drop it at program, and hopefully that means that everybody will see it. Yes? So there's that. The other thing is there's a Google form, and if Tina is in the room, maybe you could drop the link to the Google form. The Google form is also in that drive. And there is also a spreadsheet where you can sign up, indicate that you are interested in becoming part of this group to take very specific action over the next 3 to 5 weeks. I'm suggesting that we take action in cycles so that we don't feel burdened by this kind of work. We know how difficult, how time-consuming, emotionally, mentally, physically, EDI advocacy work is. So thank you, Hina. So I'm suggesting that we take this work in cycles, that we focus on the next 3 to 5 weeks with, making sure that we get the ears of the MPs and the members of cabinet before they and their staff go on break. And Anush was very helpful in reminding us that the House rises on the 21st of June, but voting actually begins on the 10th of June. So if we want them to be our conduit for, let us say, lighting the fire underneath the tri-agency to wrap up the dimensions pilot properly and to give an accounting, then now's the time for us to reach out to the MPs and the ministers. And if we're going to follow that 3-pronged strategy that I showed in my second slide, which is about, writing letters, targeting the right people with the right letters, or one-page leaflet, because nobody's going to read a long document, right? Using hashtags to make sure that while at the same time that we are sending people print or digital text, that we are also going at them on social media and making sure that we raise this kind of awareness. So we would be focusing, perhaps this is where our energies would be best directed over the next 3 to 5 weeks. We would be focusing on getting the ears of our MPs and our ministers so that they can reaffirm publicly the need for dimensions while they are still glowing and patting themselves on the back for having made such a significant investment in research and in the post-secondary sector over the next few years. So I'll just end by saying that I am quite happy to give my email address here. The semester has ended, so I can be inundated for a while with email messages. If you want to connect with me personally, torontomu.ca. torontomu.ca. I'll just drop it in the chat in a moment here. If you want to follow up with me personally, you can just send me an email, but I'm hoping that you will go to the Google Drive and sign up, read the documents. We're cleaning up documents. We're adding more in there. Like I said, the text of today's, my bit here today will be added in there as well, and some other documents. You can browse them, and then you can think about signing up on the Google form, and then we will follow up, because I'm hoping that we will be able to have another meeting sometimes towards the end of next week, where we can consolidate the information that's going to be in the letters and the leaflets. We can figure out how we're going to actually launch the social media campaign to bombard our MPs and our ministers with this information, and basically make this soft diplomacy as effective as possible. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in that Google Drive and in my email soon.
Thank you very much, Yeseng, for these comments and for this invitation and call to action. We have a bit of time for questions or comments. So any questions or comments for Yeseng? I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Or anything online in the chat, or any raised hand online.
I see in the chat, Serge, that somebody asked if all the Dimensions participating universities were invited, and I sent around the invitation to a list that I had, but I'm sure it wasn't a complete list. And so what I'm hoping is that I might be able to access a fuller list of the current EDIA contacts at participating institutions, so that we can get the word out as quickly as possible. So thank you for that question.
Thank you.
And just to also say that, the Google Drives, the forms, they're in the process of being cleaned up. So we just started this. This was a pretty quick kind of gathering, getting things together. This happened last week, Thursday. People were preparing for this conference, yesterday and today. So things are being cleaned up. So give us a little bit of time to make the Google Drive a little bit more spick and span, but the essential information is.
Thank you, Yeseng. We have a question in the room. Ed? Yes.
Hi. A question for you. I am from a non-participating university, to Dimension. We signed the chart, but we didn't participate. Are we invited also to participate?
Yes, because it's yes, all of us are stakeholders, and this means a lot to all of us. And I remember that one of the concerns at the end of the pilot period, when there were many other institutions waiting in the wings to see, how those of us who participated, my institution was one of the cohort institutions, those of us who participated, the models that we were able to create at our institutions, and how they might be able to participate later. And then, it looked like everything disappeared. So yes, non-participating institutions, yes, everybody's welcome.
Thank you for that, Frédéric. I think we have something in the chat.
Oh, sorry, I see something. I didn't see the links or email for Hyacinth. I'll just tell you my email. It's my last name, Simpson, all lowercase, simpson@torontomu.ca. And somebody's asking to please repost the Google Drive link, and let me do that. So meeting group chat, let me post it to meeting group chat. Can everybody see that now? And I'll do my email address again in the chat.
Okay, any last comment or last question? All good. So thank you very much, Yateng, for taking the time.